give us a little bit like the significance, your thoughts on community, why you think it's going to be a factor for event marketing in the future and right now.
For sure. I mean, I was similar to you. Like, as I was creating content, you realize you start building this community. And, not only you have the option to be able to share your stuff with them, but also, like, a lot of times our communities that naturally get built, they have so much to offer as well. Like, you're seeing so many people in the chat right now. For example, Wendy, who's joining us, who's also commenting and talking back as part of the conversation. And I think that's really what people are seeking now. And it's what people are seeking in terms of like the comment section within YouTube and the comment section within an Instagram post, is that it's like
Mhm.
they're looking for that sort of community. Well, for me, I've definitely felt like, why community I think is so important for this next year is that a couple things. I feel like people are starting to kind of feel icky about social media, that we do it because it's the standard for us to stay in touch, know what's going on, how, see our friends' baby pictures, all those things like that.
Mhm.
Right. But in reality, we get on and it's, we're getting forced ads that we maybe don't want to be seeing. We, start seeing, things that maybe frustrate us. And then, sometimes there's not the most healthy conversations that are happening on social media. So I've always just felt like it's kind of been this mess space. And like the one for me is that I've been slowly like peeling away from social media. I don't have Instagram anymore. I don't have Facebook. A lot of that has to do with my opinions on Meta, but I've always kept my LinkedIn. But even when I log on my LinkedIn, I log in and I see my feed. And, as somebody who's I consider pretty successful in the events industry, like I've been doing this for a while, I get on and I consider myself also very confident. I feel like I lose confidence when I log on. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm not, I could be doing better. And, I think that's a feeling that is not healthy for our mindset. So, but what I do think is that people still need these spaces to ask questions and get answers. So where I think the power of community comes is that people are looking for community, but are feeling the stray away from social media. And the opportunity for events is that we also build communities while we're at our events. But then where do we direct them? To an email list, to follow us on social media? I think there's an opportunity to send people to a private online community that you build that looks and feels like social media, but is dedicated to what the people who attend your event already care about. So for example, if you're doing a marketing conference, you have the opportunity to build a marketing community around that and to put them in these private networks and have more control over it, to be ultimately where this is where it becomes the business case, is that it's a channel that you fully control. It's no longer rented land on social media. I've always been like a rented versus owned land person in terms of my strategy of social media, is always try to push them towards something that you fully control, that you have full options over, and that you aren't basing everything off an algorithm that might change tomorrow.
Yeah. I think one of the things with that is I feel like we were talking earlier, people want peer-to-peer information, right? From a marketing standpoint, social media standpoint, everything's gotten really saturated, right?
Yeah,
Everybody
for
knows
sure.
that your blog is written offshore and you're
Or by
bulk doing
AI
them
now.
for, yeah, I mean, it can be written literally by AI, right? So the peer-to-peer is so important because you're able to get people want information validation from their peers doing the same job. So I had an episode, I had Sam Zelich on. He works for Squarespace. Squarespace kind of has their own community, right? They have these group of people that like love Squarespace and building websites on them, whether they're agencies or whether they're just like one-off people that build websites or whatever they do. And he runs an event for Squarespace, but it's really it started as like a user conference, right?
I love it.
But now it's shifted into a community per se. He calls it a community. He runs the event
Yeah.
like a community. I think that is a strategy for a lot of larger companies that have a following, that have users, that have distributors, that have that. So I don't know if you want to talk about that more, but that has had my wheels kind of turning to leverage an event through community.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the most amazing part about this trend, is that I think we all already have communities. We just don't sometimes call them that, and that, or we don't aren't necessarily harnessing the full power of that together. For me, in a lot of ways too, like for example, the Squarespace example, it starts as a user conference and things like that, but then eventually it grows to probably people are just generally passionate about web design and using their website as a marketing piece. And when you look at it, especially if you already are starting to have these user bases and things like that, a lot of times community can solve other challenges beyond just the marketing element of bringing people together, but
Like customer
let's talk
service,
like customer service, right?
almost
Like
doing customer service for you. Yeah, it's interesting.
100%. And this isn't new,
Yeah.
right? Like we've had forms attached to brands for a long period of time. The difference with this is that we need to, like, where I'm kind of harping in 2023 and beyond is that it needs to be a great experience doing this. So for
Mhm.
example, I'll harp for a second on associations. A lot of times associations fall into the trap of using association management softwares, and they have community features, forms, messaging, but it sucks to use them, and they're just a painful experience. But what we need to start doing is thinking about it like, why is Facebook successful? Why is Instagram successful? Why is LinkedIn successful? It's because they're constantly focusing on the user experience, making it as easy to use as possible. And that's really where I feel like, software, for example, like Mighty Networks and Circle are really powerful tools that allow you to very cheaply start putting your audience into a private area. And I think the other piece of this too is that you brought up like how blog content and content marketing is not as successful as it used to be. Like this year got completely disrupted. What we thought was like, oh, AI is eventually going to come for content. Now, immediately, I think we're going to see this space in the next 2-3 years that content marketing is no longer going to be successful. That unless you're doing super high end cinema quality video that can't be recreated by AI, or you're like creating an amazing podcast conversation that people want to listen to. I honestly, written blog content, even very short form video content, is all getting just disrupted completely by AI. And I know we'll talk about AI in a little bit, but that's another reason why community is great, is because people still want to ask, hey, what products do you recommend, that from people who actually use them? Or what did you do in this situation? And it's not just a summary of 5 people's super smart ideas, but instead you're hearing directly from someone's mouth saying, yeah, here's how you plan a super engaging event.